They were found baseless. There was no legal settlement. There was an agreement between that lady and the National Restaurant Association, and it was treated as a personnel matter because there was no basis to her accusations. Those are the facts.
Was she making it up? Was she making up a story, or was she misinterpreting something?
When she made her accusations, they were found to be baseless, and she could not find anyone to corroborate her story. The Restaurant Association handled it. They went through a process to get to the point where it ended up being an agreement, not a settlement. Now, let me clarify that little point. I've been criticized by some members of the media that I have changed my story. When the firestorm started a week ago Monday, I was presented with the accusation of some settlement was made. Settlement to me means that there were legal implications. Later during that same day, I then recalled, after all those years, that there was an agreement. That's what businesses sign with employees who are departing the company. They call it an agreement. Settlement implies legal implications. All of the potential legal implications or ramifications or accusations were found to be baseless.
Andrew Morse, the Wall Street Journal. Still, Mr. Cain, there are now a total of 4 women who have accused you of some form of sexual harassment. How do you explain that? Are they making it up? Is that plausible? Can you explain where you think this is coming from? Thank you.
Well, I happen to think where it's coming from is that some people don't want to see Herman Cain get the Republican nomination, and some people don't want Herman Cain to become President of the United States of America. As you know, when you run for the highest office in the land, there are going to be some accusations that are going to come out of the woodwork. They're going to come from anywhere. And I have said this before. There will probably be others, not because I am aware of any, but because the machine to keep a businessman out of the White House is going to be relentless. And if they continue to come, I will continue to respond. I can't answer why the ones that have already made these one anonymous accusations and one that was, put their face on TV, started a media campaign to basically try and slander my integrity and my character. I can't tell you what their motivation is other than is to stop Herman Cain. I believe that the American people are saying that they are not going to let that happen.
Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News here in Phoenix. Mitt Romney has been quoted as saying he finds these accusations to be disturbing. Can you react to that observation by Mr. Romney and tell us what you think is behind it or what it means?
Sure. Sexual harassment is a very serious matter, as I've said. I find the accusations disturbing, but false. I don't believe Governor Romney was saying that he thought I was guilty of any of these accusations, but yes, they're disturbing because they distract me from taking our message to the American people, talking about solutions. They distract from the whole Republican primary process. So he's right, but I don't think he was saying that I was disturbing because I've been accused. I believe what he was saying, because I know Mitt Romney and his integrity, that he was referring to the fact that it's disturbing that these accusations that are not factually based are disturbing to this process.
Mr. Cain, Lee Ross with Fox News. You've made several mentions of the machine, the Democratic machine. Who are these people? Who is involved in this? Is it a conspiracy?
I cannot say that it is a conspiracy. We do not have definitive factual proof. We can only look at some coincidences to suggest it, that maybe someone is deliberately behind this. So we have not been able to make any determination to point any fingers or place any blame on anybody at this point. When we step back and look at the fact that there's no facts, no factual evidence to back these up. We can only infer that someone is trying to basically wreck my character and, like the other gentleman alluded to, plant doubt in the minds of a lot of the people who are going to go to the polls and vote.
Mr. Cain, Andrew Rafferty, NBC News. I'm just curious, what role do you think Sharon Bialec's past financial troubles play in her allegations against you?
She claims that her past financial situation, the number of civil lawsuits she's been involved in, she claims that it does not play a role in her coming forward. I can't respond any further than that. That's her claim, but from a common sense standpoint, one would have to ask if, in fact, that might not have been a motivation for her being subjected to this.
Hi, Mr. Cain. Tracy Toomer with CNN. In terms of the other case that was found baseless from that accuser, who found it to be baseless, and if so, why was she paid tens of thousands of dollars?
Well, I'm not sure of the tens of thousands of dollars figure that you're referring to, so I'm not going to get caught in that trap. It was negotiations between, I'm only referring to the one lady that actually filed charges, okay? That's the only one I can respond to. She got an attorney, and she and her attorney negotiated and talked with the attorney for the National Restaurant Association. I can't even remember if we got outside counsel in this case. I think we probably did. So it was a situation where they worked back and forth, and they came to the conclusion that it should end with some sort of personnel separation agreement. She worked at the Restaurant Association for a period of time. I do recall that before I left the Restaurant Association, she was in the process of leaving the association. I didn't have regular interaction, although periodically I would see her. And since she reported to my vice president, one of my vice presidents, when we would have a planning meeting, she would attend the planning meeting, because typically when I would do a planning meeting, I would not only bring in my direct reports, I'd bring in the next level down. She was at that next level down. So that was the interaction in terms of me seeing her on a regular basis. During that particular period of time, because I was the president of the National Restaurant Association, today it has over 14 million people working in the industry, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of restaurants. I spent most of my time traveling and giving speeches around the country to state restaurant associations, as well as other speeches that I needed to give. I was not in the office a lot. I was out in the field more than I was in the office.
Mr. Cain, hi. Lindsay Borman with CBS News and National Journal. You said again today that it's been so many years, and you later recalled that there was a financial agreement that you didn't originally remember. Now you say you don't remember Sharon Bialek. Yesterday was the first time you've seen her. Is there a possibility that it's just been too many years and that you could recall some specific details later?
That's a possibility, but I think it's a remote possibility. You know, I'm not an expert on how the brain works. But I do know that I sat there and went over and over and over and over in my mind, do I know this lady? The answer kept coming up, no. I watched her again today when she appeared on Fox News with her attorney doing this interview, sitting there trying to remember, do I know her? I didn't recognize the face, I didn't recognize the name, nor the voice. And so you're right. Is that a possibility? Yes. But I happen to think that's a remote possibility. And here's why. One of the things that people who have worked with me for years will tell you is that I'm pretty good at remembering people, especially people that have had a positive impact in my life or a positive impact on my business. I'm pretty good at remembering people that I have met who have made some sort of impression on me. So in this particular case, I seriously doubt if I'm going to have an aha moment later and say, oh yeah, I remember that. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, Mark Lacey with the New York Times. Karen Krauschar, who just spoke to our newspaper within the last hour, can you tell us what she accused you of specifically and what your interactions with her were? You came close to answering that, but you stopped. This is your press conference where you're going to level with us and tell us what happened. So tell us what she accused you of and tell us what really happened. This is your chance. Thank you.
Well, I can only recall one thing that I was aware of that was called sexual harassment. The one thing that I remembered during the day when all of this broke loose is that one day in my office at the National Restaurant Association, I was standing next to Ms. Kraushaw, and I gestured, standing near her like this, "You're the same height as my wife," because my wife comes up to my chin. That was the one gesture that I remember. The door was open. A secretary was sitting there. It wasn't anything behind closed doors. I gestured because of her height, comparing it to my wife's height. End of story. Other things that might have been in the accusations, I'm not even aware of. I don't remember. That one I remember because that was the one that my general counsel came to me and said, the one that appears to be the one that she was most upset about was that. So I really can't tell you any more because I don't recall anymore, and that's the only one I remember. She did not react at the time. Absolutely did not react at the time. Let me say this, folks. In closing, thank you for your patience. Thank you for us having an opportunity to share my perspective on this. This nation faces tremendous crises. I would hope that we could get back to sharing with the American people solutions to the problems that we face. We are not going to allow ourselves to continuously be distracted by these sort of incidents. I will respond to them, but we cannot slow this campaign down when we need to be dealing with our economic crisis, our spending crisis, our energy crisis, our foggy foreign policy crisis, illegal immigration crisis, and a crisis of leadership in the White House in Washington, D.C. That's what I'm going to continue to focus on behalf of the American people, not for me, but for the grandkids. Thank you all very much for your attendance.
Ready?
Herman Cain in Scottsdale, Arizona with